Hi, and today we're going to look at, once you have finished designing the logo, what do you do to hand off to the client? So what sizes and logo formats do you need to hand to your client? The two questions that you want to talk to your client about is what colors do they want and what file formats do they want? Obviously, they're going to want that color logo that you designed, and oftentimes they'll want some sort of grayscale logo. If they don't mention that, I will at least suggest the grayscale. You might have a client that also wants an all-white version or other types of color versions of the logo, but this is something that you want to talk with the client and figure it out. But I usually suggest at least a color and a grayscale logo for them. And for the file formats, I have another video that talks about what the different formats are for. So make sure that you're educated on that when you start talking to your client about what those are. But I would definitely send them the EPS file, a PNG, and a JPEG. They might also want an SVG or a PDF or some other formats, and that's fine, but I would always suggest an EPS, PNG, and JPEG for sure. And the other thing you might want to note is that at this point, make sure your artboard is already at a pretty good size. You can go ahead and change that by document setup and edit artboard and change the size on this if you'd like. I would really suggest that you're somewhere in the range of 600 pixels. That just gives you a fair size logo without it getting too massive, but the quality of all of the files that you're going to send your client are a pretty good size, but not overwhelming that they're going to get issues uploading. For this logo that we've made, I'm going to go ahead and save it as color and grayscale and in those 4 types of file formats. So that's what we'll be going over today. All right, to start with, we have our color, and so we need another artboard that we can do a grayscale logo for. So what I'm going to do with that is literally just duplicate the exact same artboard and logo, and then I'm going to make this grayscale. I want to go in and manually make this grayscale, so I know I want what was previously green to be black, and everything that was, oh, and this was green down here too, so let's make that black. And then I want the pickle and the stroke here to be a gray color. So somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit on the letter end. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm going to copy that because it's the same one thing that I want the stroke to be. So you could obviously do another way and make the whole logo grayscale, but I like to manually go in so I know that this green translates to the same gray as the stroke translates over here. So now we have our color and our grayscale logos. Now we need to save them in the 4 different types of file formats. This is an AI file. There's no need to send them that. The EPS is sufficient. And so first we're going to do is save that as an EPS. So you're going to go to File, Save As, and then change this to EPS. Be sure to click Use Artboards so that it comes across as the specific artboards. Save. All right, so now we're going to save it as a PNG. So we'll do File, Export, Export As. Here we can click PNG. Be sure to select Use Artboards and Export. And then here it's going to ask you if you're wanting to save it at a high resolution. We're going to save it smaller since we'll also be giving the client an SVG and a JPEG. So do smaller for 72. We want the background to be transparent. So those are 2 really important things to make sure you're clicking on. All right, next the JPEG. So again, File, Export, Export As. And let's go to JPEG. Use artboards, and it's gonna get a little tedious as you can tell, but just make sure you're paying attention as you do it. So JPEG is for, you should be saving that in CMYK. You want the quality to be as high as it can go. You want the resolution to be 300, so that's looking good. All right, and the 4th one is the SVG. So we'll do File, Export, Export As, SVG. And use artboards. And that's good there. All right, so now let's go ahead and open up Finder and make sure that we have all 4 file formats in both colors. All right, so here's all of our different file formats, just labeled with 1 or 2 for the artboard, but we're gonna go ahead and write color or grayscale on that. So we have our EPS file, and we're gonna say that that's color. And anywhere there's a 01, I know that's the first artboard. So we'll make that because there's no way the client's gonna know that that's what that one is, and they don't wanna be going through and clicking all of them open to know what they need to be. All right, so let's double check that we've got a color, EPS color grayscale, JPEG for both, PNG for both, SVG for both. Okay, great. All right, so we've got these other design file logos over here that we're not going to be sending to the client. So what I would like to do is put all these in a folder just for the client. And you could say, let's do pickle since logo. There we go. And then if you want to, you can go ahead and divide that up between color logos. And we'll dump all of our colors in there. And then do the same thing with our grayscale. All right, so this is the folder we're going to be sending them, and they've got their colors in here, and it's all 4 file types, as well as their grayscale with all 4 file types. The only other thing that I like to do is just double check that all of the logos open correctly and look really good. So really quickly, I'm going to go through and open all these up. All right, so those are all looking really great. And then what I'm gonna do is, on my Mac, I'm gonna do control click, but I'm gonna do compress this. So this will compress that into under 5 megabytes that it can be emailed. So this is actually the compressed file that I will send my client. All right, there you go. That's how you would get your logo ready to hand off to the client. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel to be notified when new videos are posted. Thanks.